Question number 6 is on trigonometric graphs. You are given the graphs, that is f of x, which is sine 2x, and g of x, which is negative cos x. Alright, even before you go on to answer the questions, there are some things that you should be able to read from this. When they've given you sine 2x, remember it's can be written as 2 sine x cos x. Just put that in mind too. And also remember that these two, it affects the period. In case they ask you about the period of f of x, it will be 360 degrees divided by 2, which is 180 degrees. And then looking at g of x, you can see that the amplitude of g of x is 2, and g of x is a reflection along the x-axis of the graph of 2 cos x. That's why you should be able to read this correctly just by looking at the function. Alright, let's look at the questions. 6.1, write down the range of g in the interval x and element from negative 45 to 90 degrees inclusive. Now, the range of g, we are basically talking about the y values, but then we are limited to this interval. So we can see that in this interval, the minimum is negative 2. So we are saying y is an element from negative 2 to the maximum value we have is at this point. As we are looking at the graph, this is the maximum point the graph reaches in that interval, which is 0. Y is 0 at this point. So it's from negative 2 to 0, and these are included. You can also write it in set notation. That means you're saying y is greater or equal to negative 2, but less or equal to 0. That is 6.1. 6.2. 6.2. Write down one value of x. Write down one value of x for which f of x minus g of x is equal to 2 in the interval negative 45 to 90 degrees inclusive. F of x, that means we are looking at the y values. So we just need to inspect our graph. You can see that f of x is 0 and then g of x is negative 2. And simple mathematics can tell you that 0 minus 2. That is f of x minus g of x. So that will be 0 minus 2, which will be equal to 2. So this happens on which value of x? At 0 degrees. So 6.2, we are saying x is equal to 0 degrees. 6.3, for which values of x is negative 4 sine x times cos squared x is less than 0 in the same interval. Now, on this question, the examiner has hidden our functions in this. So that is a question which is of a higher order, which now needs you to have problem solving skills. So you need to link this to the functions that you are having. Now if you check, basically it's about multiplication. If we say g of x times f of x, what are we having? That is negative 2 cos x times Remember, sine 2x, we say is 2 sine x cos x. And this is basically negative 4 sine x cos squared x. So in this, what they have hidden in this is that it's f of x times g of x is less than 0. So that's now the interpretation that we need to have. So the product of the y values of these two functions must be less than 0, which means that either f of x will be negative and then g of x will be positive, or vice versa. So now let's check our graphs. Let's look at the first condition. F of x is negative. This is where it is negative. Now we check if g of x is positive, but then we see that it's also negative. So as we are moving, this goes above the x-axis. That means f of x is positive, and then g of x is negative. And this happens from 0 degrees to 90 degrees. This will be above, this will be below. So that's the condition that we want. One should be positive, the other one should be negative. And for what interval does that happen? So we see that this happens in the interval we are not going to use square brackets because the inequality is saying strictly less than. So it's from 0 degrees to 90 degrees. Or you can say x is greater than 0 degrees but less than 90 degrees, whichever way you are comfortable with. So that is how you are supposed to interpret and answer 6.3.